Right, morning folks, here we are, the M&S filling station in Bingley, on this rather large motorcycle. £18.83 for half a tank of fuel, 25 litre tank. I don't know if that computes or not. Anyway, so welcome to my Goldwing. Thought I'd never have one of these, but here we are. 2009 Honda Goldwing GL1800 A8 in candy red with 15,000 mile on the clock. I'm pretty good, Nick, has to be said. And I'm slowly getting used to this thing. It's easy to become unnerved by the weight, even though it is carried low down on the bike with this flat 6 engine. But she is, you know, like all big bikes, when this thing's up and running, she's, you know, very, very manoeuvrable, and you wouldn't think you were riding 400 kilograms of metal, plastic and rubber. But as you saw, as I turned right out of the filling station there, what a mincing job I made of it. If I'd have been on my old GS Adventure, which I've had and ridden routinely now for well over 3 years, I'd have been straight out of there, but I'm still a little bit wary of the mass and the effects of gravity on this. But when you're up and running like this, it's superb. And the engine is as smooth as anything. Now let me tell you, when I retired from the cots in 2013, I treated myself to a brand new BMW K1600 GTLE, which I suppose is BMW's answer to this. And that's a 6-cylinder engine, but it's not a flat 6, it's a transverse 6-cylinder inline. And that was smooth, but nowhere near as smooth as this. This is a different class. This is by a country mile the smoothest motorcycle I have ever ridden, and I can only imagine that the only thing that could beat this is probably the new Goldwing. I mean, she read lines at 6,000 RPM, but it's all about the torque. 5-speed box on this, but 5th is overdrive, and you might see on the dash that when you hit 5th, there's a little orange OD light comes on, which is not to tell you you're overdoing it, it's to tell you that you're in overdrive in 5th. But the response in 4th and 5th, if you want to, you know, make an overtake, you're straight up to 90-100 mile an hour in no time whatsoever. So very, very easy to get to naughty speeds. Only problem is you don't know you're doing them. Such is the you know, the refinement and tractability of this engine. You just and of course the supreme protection from the elements. You just don't know that you're doing it. One thing you do get, you do notice once you get moving, is something Mr. Flyer always mentions when he rides big fair touring bikes, and I've noticed it more on this bike than any other really, and that is once you get going, you can feel vortices of wind pushing at your back. So, I mean, he describes it as being sucked towards the front of the bike. I would describe it with this bike more a sensation of having the wind at your back. And that was meant to be the indicator, so as you can see, I'm still getting used to where everything is on this. But it's got a proper horn on it. No beep beep about that, will there? And there we go, 5th gear, and the overdrive lights come out there, and so if we crack on here, you'll see 3000 RPM is 70 mile an hour. Let me tell you, I absolutely do not feel like I'm doing 70 mile an hour. So we're on the GS, I'd know about it. You know, there would be a real sensation of doing 70 mile an hour, but not on this. Feels like 50 on any other bike. Comfort levels right up there. Wonderfully comfortable seat, very low. It's less than 800 millimeters, so I can easily, at 6'1", I can easily flat foot with this, which is just as well given the weight. But as I say, that weight is carried very low down, which is just as well really, all things considered. Plenty of engine braking. Right, so what am I going to say about the brakes? Nissin brakes on these, which what Honda do tend to use, and what I will say about the brakes, both front and rear, is adequate. If you're looking for that, you know, the absolute gargantuan grip that you'll get from the brakes on a modern high performance bike. When I say modern, I mean, you know, like 2021 high performance bike. They're not there. They're adequate. More braking effort required on this, I have to say, than my GS Adventure. But more than adequate. It's not one of those where it's not like I had the Triumph Rocket 3 Touring 2.3 litre, a 2011 one, 2 or 3 years back, and that didn't have ABS either. This has ABS, and that were that were a bit of a bum twitcher with that at first on the front brake, but these are certainly a lot better than that was. Of course, you've got everything on here. This is the top spec navigation model, speakers front and rear, heated grips, heated seats, sat nav, radio, you name it. Smooth as you like. And I always said if I got a Goldwing, it'd be either this colour or that very dark cherry red sort of maroon colour that you can get them in, but this was the one that I dropped on. It came from CMC Motorcycles in Coles Hill in the West Midlands there. Has got self-cancelling indicators, but if you're making shallow turns, say off a large roundabout, they don't seem to recognise the fact that you've executed your turn, but everything else it's self-cancelling, which I'm not a big lover of, to be honest with you. Some people want to self-cancel indicators, some people don't, but you don't have a choice on this. I know on some more modern motorcycles you can turn off that function, but not on this one. But just a feeling of being very, very well planted. And as I say, if you wind her on, salute, if you wind her on, you know the power's all there. It's just endless torque, very linear. There are no hard or soft spots on the acceleration curve. The torque's very, very predictable. Something else you got on this bike, central locking for the luggage, so for the trunk as the Americans call it. It's a top box as far as I'm concerned. But the top box and panniers on these Goldwings, you can't remove them, they're an integral part of the motorcycle, but they are centrally lockable from the key fob. Of course this bike, as I said, round about the 400 kilo mark, wet, shaft drive, electronically adjustable ride height on the suspension, not to be confused with ESA, or you know, like the BMW system and KTM systems and some others that continually adjust to the road surface. It's not that kind of, as far as I'm aware, electronic suspension, but it is at the touch of a button down there. You can adjust the ride height, obviously, if you're going to ride two up, or you're going to be loaded up with luggage. And something else I found with this, it's a bit like the GS Adventure. Not everybody wants to wave at you. It's like you're not on a bike. And I've heard all that nonsense about you might as well get a car. I don't know where that comes from, but it's one of those tired old cliches that keeps getting wheeled out by people that don't like Goldwings, and mainly by people who've never ridden a Goldwing. It's a motorcycle. In every single respect of riding this bike, it's a motorcycle. Just because it's bigger and bulkier than most, and has this sort of old man Dick and Liddy two-up touring reputation, doesn't mean to say it isn't an exciting motorcycle to ride. As all motorcycles are exciting to ride, certainly compared with a car. So as I say, those tired old cliches tend to get wheeled out by people who have decided they don't like Goldwings but have never ridden one. If you have ridden a Goldwing GL1800 and you still think they're not for you, that's fair enough, isn't it? But so far I'm loving this. I'm just spending way too much time polishing it. To be fair, when I got her, she was a little bit mucky underneath, so the top were fairly pristine for a 12-year-old bike. But once I sort of got on my back and looked underneath, there were a fair bit of crud where whoever's had it previously obviously had it out in weather and not thoroughly cleaned the underside, and that's where you can get early signs of corrosion on things like exhaust pipes and what have you, centre stand, places like that. But it's all cleaned up fairly nicely, and I've given it a really, really good coat of both corrosion resistant paint on the centre stand. I give that a really good wire brushing down with an angle grinder with a wire brush attachment. Then I give it a coat of direct to corrosion paint, 2 coats in fact, and it's looking really good. I'm not going to over chrome this. There's very little, in fact there's no aftermarket chrome on this that I can see so far, but all I've invested in is a bit of trim. So the back top box and panniers trim, she's all red at the moment. I'm just ordered that in chrome, and the only other bit of chrome basically will be the covers that go over the vents for the two radiators on either side of the fairings here, and I think that will just set off the bike nicely. It's a bit of a sea of candy red at the moment. I just think those modest chrome accents will just set the bike off nicely, but I think once you get into the realms of you know, it looking like a magpie's feast, it's gone a bit too far. But you can get so much in terms of chrome, particularly if you buy it from China, cheap stuff from China. You know, you could probably have the whole bike in chrome by the time you'd finished. But that's not for me. But it's effortless really. I mean, when you're out on the open road, just bang her in overdrive, and you might as well have a DCT, you know, and might as well have an automatic box, because it just do everything, you know, from 30 mile an hour right up to whatever the top speed of this is. I think it's something like 120 odd. It's easy to get overly obsessed with the numbers on bikes. I think this is something like 120 brake horsepower, give or take. But it's not about that for me. It's you know, what's it feel like when you get on it? If it feels like a comfortable, powerful, usable bike that you enjoy riding, that's it, end of story. Not really interested in the numbers. So what else? A seating position, so knees bent at sort of about 45 degrees-ish from what I can feel, so it's not like the big American cruisers or the Triumph Rocket 3 GT, you know, where you've got that forward foot position. It's not like that. It's a more conventional motorcycle riding position, more European riding position, which I find a lot more comfortable, a lot more natural. The posture's great. There's a back support. You can buy an accessory backrest, but there is a back support, which is great. The weather protection is second to none. And I hate taking bikes out in the rain, but living in the UK, and particularly living in the Yorkshire area, living in Yorkshire, not too far from the Pennines, you know, the forecast can tell you there's less than 5% chance of rain. Well, it did that this morning. It bloody pissed it down at 8 o'clock, so that's how reliable the weather apps are in this neck of the woods. So plenty of weather protection on this. Knock the radio up there. There we go, bit of music, but I'm not sure it's for me, music on a motorcycle. Even though I've got the Cardo Scala rider, so it'd be absolutely nothing. So, quick brew at Squires. There's one of the beautiful new Suzuki Hayabusas in black and gold. Cracking thing, not for me, too uncomfortable. But a bike that I do like and I do rate, and I'm always on the lookout for, is one of these Suzuki GSX 1400 in precisely that colour scheme, although perhaps not with the white wheels. They are a cracking looking bike. Fabulous thing. That's a proper good looking retro bike. If you're going to have one of those, it's got to be in that blue and white colour scheme, hasn't it? And speaking of colour schemes, look at this here, colour schemes even. Look at this here GS It's not a 1250, is it? No, 1200. That's a cracking colour scheme. What would you call that? I suppose grey camo. Really suits it. That's one very clean bike. So, had a quick brew at Squires. Zero here, organising some ride outs on electric bikes. They all came past a minute ago, as silent as death. Must have a go on one of those. So jump on this big lad now, and of course normally there's another Goldwing or two here at Squires on a Sunday, but not today typically. It's one of those things with Goldwings, you know, they don't attract a lot of attention from bikers because it's like, you know, oh, there's another Goldwing, but like kids and elderly people, fascinated by them anyway. Yeah, I do like the colour scheme on that GS. Wonder how much that cost him. That's certainly not standard, is it? You can't buy them in that colour scheme. I shall eschew the rear gear here because that would be incredibly lazy. Okay, so back the way we didn't come. Go back via Leeds, a little place called Garforth, little suburb of Leeds, very nice. And this bit of road here, which is the B122. So if you've not ever been to Squires, get this end down there or get this end up there, depending on where you are, and just head for the B122 just off the A1M here, look. Yeah, those electric bikes, the Zeros, you know, you look at the certainly the YouTube reviews of people that have ridden them, and they all say they're a stack of fun, and they probably are the future, whether we like it or not. Whether or not there will be anything the size of this thing that's electric, you know, a really big Grand Tourer, remains to be seen, but certainly a couple of the models that were there you can get panniers for, and certainly tour on. I'm not sure about two up for any length of time, but the way battery technology is improving exponentially, just a matter of time. Yeah, electric bikes, but probably the only thing on the road smoother than this. I'm really getting that effect now of the wind pushing me forward towards the bike. It's physics and the laws of aerodynamics at play there, I suspect. But you have nothing bad to say about this bike so far anyway. I mean, it's only the third time I've been out on her, and I'm getting a bit more used to the bulk now and a little bit more confident. Small steps, as they say. But the handling, if psychologically you can just train your thoughts away from the physical size and the weight, going into corners handles exceptionally well, you know. I'm sure there are people that have had the knee down on these, not that I'd want to try it. Only way I get my knee down on one of these is by falling off. I'm not aiming for that. It really is refined, and I suppose if I was to be critical from a purely almost aesthetical point of view, if you prefer the character of a twin, you know, a parallel twin or a V twin, this is a million miles away from that experience. And I do like the character of the V-twins. I mean, there were a couple of Ducati Multistrada, not the new V4S, but the earlier 1260s came into Squires there, and they sound awesome. Sound like a proper motorbike. This does not sound like a motorcycle, really. Like I said, it sounds like a quiet jet turbine. But it's got acres of shove. And it's the sort of bike this that I suspect you wouldn't go out and have a very sort of logical, pragmatic checklist as to what you wanted from a bike. I don't think anybody would do that and come up with this bike. It's got to be something that you want because of what it is. The whole being very much more than the sum of its parts in terms of the overall riding experience and desirability. It's got to be a bike you want. But I suppose if you were to sit down and think that your priority was around two-up, long distance, comfortable touring, there'd be quite a few bikes on that list, and this would have to be one of them. But if you had your purely pragmatic head on, maybe you'd go for something a little bit smaller, a little less heavy. But it wouldn't be a Goldwing, would it? So the next time you check in, I hope to be showing you some chrome bits that I'm putting on. Like I said, I'm not going to go too far with it. I'm not going to go overboard. Just a couple of subtle accents just to break up the sea of candy red that is this bike at the moment. So hopefully I should be able to show you that shortly, because it's due for delivery from a place called HGB Motorcycles in Ruislip, which seem to become very highly regarded. Supposed to be rocking up tomorrow, so perhaps the day after we'll get filming in the garage and we can see if there's an overall cosmetic enhancement, as I suspect that there should be. I hope so, because it's cost me well over 300 quid for this this bit of plastic chrome, so fingers crossed there. Anyway, until then, this is me, the Bingley Wheeler. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and hit that bell for notifications the next time I upload a video, which shouldn't be too long. And until then, ride safe and above all be kind. Bye bye.